Hello everyone, I'm continuing on with the A-Wings. I want to light the little snap model, the Return of the Jedi kit. My problem is the engines. I look at some reference photos, it looks like they're warm white. I see a lot of people using amber LEDs. So what I've done is I'm going through my big old pile of unlabeled LEDs and they're going to get labeled. And the whole reason we're here is I want to show you guys how to figure out what the voltage is for an LED when you don't know. Because I think some of you won't have an idea on this. Okay? I have a power supply. If you look back at the beginning electronics videos, I showed you the power supply I'm using. I'm not going to video on it right now. I'm just going to cut open a package of LEDs. It just says 3mm G. They're probably green. I'm not sure. We're going to find out. So I'm cutting open the package. Okay. I'm selecting a victim for study. Haha, got one. I got my victim, my little victim. Alright. I'm getting my power leads. Remember, the long lead on an LED is positive. The short lead is negative. So I've got her connected positive, negative. You can see that. Okay. Now I'm dialing my power supply to 1 volt and I'm going to cut the power on. I know it won't light at 1 volt. There's very few LEDs that do light at 1 volt. So I start with a low voltage and just dial it up. Okay. It's yellow. We're at 1.9 volts and she started lighting. Now see, if that was a blue or a white, it would not have lit at that voltage. So 1.9 volts. I'm going to dial her up to 2 now. And we're going to go to about 2.2, 2.3. Oh, I burned her. 2.3. You can see here she's fading. That's too high. She's burned out. Yep. So this is running probably about 2 volts. Even. Flat out. And she's nowhere near as bright as she was. Still lit, but she won't never obtain that brightness she had a few minutes ago. Because I overdrove her. Alright? I can smell it burning. But anyhow, she's yellow. And that's how you do. I just slowly dial up the voltage until I find out what color it is. I'm going to throw this guy away because I saw him turn red for a little bit, and that's not a good sign. Although she's holding pretty steady. 2.4 volts. Maybe I didn't burn her up. Anyhow, I'm not going to use it in a model, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it. But this is how you check the voltage on an LED when you don't know what the voltage is. Alright? I had a big old pile here to go through. I've got to find some warm whites, and I bet I don't have them. I got plenty of whites, I know that. And I want 3mm, not 5, if possible. That's going to be the trick. Okay? I've already gone through my big old box of LEDs that have been sorted by size and color and didn't find any. We're going to look one more time just to make sure at some of the miscellaneous ones on the side. But I'm pretty sure I don't have any warm whites in there. And I can't go to a local electronics store because, well, there really isn't one. So we'll be off to the internet and looking at China. I'll be back in a bit. Alright guys, now, I don't have any warm white LEDs in any size I want, so I'm going to use yellows on the snap type. Return of the Jedi A-Wing. But more and more I look at the reference photos, and more I think it's this color right here that I see. Now, that little guy right there, oops, helps if you aim the camera right. That little guy right there, and you notice I'm blocking ambient light. This is a 1/2 watt LED. It's a warm whiter. If I push down on it, it's pretty bright. Okay, it doesn't mount in there properly. It's not designed to go in a breadboard. But she's a 1/2 watt. I can't look at it. I get blinded if I look at it directly. Alright. That will light those engine cans beautifully, superbly. I mean, you can see it's putting out an awful lot of light. She's a 1/2 watt. If I use her, I can't power the big A-Wing with batteries. I'll have to use a wall wart. This is going to suck too much power out of a battery. Okay? Now, Michael sent me some really bright amber LEDs. So let's take a look at that. Let me adjust the voltage, because that bright Piranha LED, they called it a Piranha LED, takes 3.2 volts. Michael didn't know what the voltage was on the LEDs he sent me. They are 2.3 volts. So I can't light these at the same time. Alright? That's 2.1. Okay, that's 2.3 volts running through that LED. You guys can see the difference in the brightness. It's pretty bright. The half-watt LED is putting out a heck of a lot more light. Okay? And I think it's closer to the color I see in the studio model. I'm going to put links to my reference photos at the bottom of the video, down at the bottom of the video. It has, there are photos of it lit. I found 2 or 3 photos of it, the engine cans lit. And, well, heck. This, as far as I can tell, that might be the studio model. I don't think it's this model at all. Yeah, no. Not 100% certain on that, but that could be the studio model as far as I know. Okay? But you can see the engine rings are lit. Oh, you guys can't see this. Let me breeze the camera up and turn on some brighter lights. Alright, you can see the engine cans are lit on this guy. And this could very possibly be the studio scale model. I'm not 100% certain on that. Looking at the studio scale model, that looks like the Pilot alright. Okay? And from what I found, this thing is fairly accurate to the studio scale model. The cockpit is not, but most of it is. So it's going to be my guide when I'm building Michael's model. I'm going to let you guys decide. Do I use the warm white LED or do I use the yellow LED? I'm going to use yellow in the Snap Titan. I'm going to start on him in a minute because I don't have much of a choice. But on the on the big one, you guys tell me. Do I use the warm white or do I use the yellow? Let me know. That would be awesome. Okay? I've already emailed Michael. I'm waiting for his reply. So let me go ahead and get the yellow LEDs wired up for this guy and the engine cans put together. Once I got that done, I'm starting on the engine cans on Michael's. I'm going to work a little bit of this, a little bit of Michael's. We're going to work them in steps. Kind of paired. Okay? That way I get a feel for how things are going to go together while I'm working on the various parts on the larger one. So, just to let you guys see it. Yeah, because you might be interested in this. These warm white LEDs are not your normal LED. First off, there's nothing that tells me what's positive and negative on them. It's got 4 power jacks on the bottom of it. 4 prongs for power. 2 are positive, 2 are negative. And I can tell by looking at which one's positive and which one's negative, but there's no long and short ones. I don't know what these are made for. Probably light bulbs. To be honest with you guys, they look like they're made for light bulbs. But found them on eBay. I bought them. I'm going to use them. And again, they are half watt LEDs. Most LEDs are 0.2 watts, 0.15 watts. This guy's a half watt. So he's quite a bit brighter than your normal LED. I bought it because I thought it would look good as an engine light for some sort of spaceship. And well, I'm building a spaceship. I'm rambling. Let me get on with model building and not rambling. Back in a bit. You can see electronic stuff all over the desktop. I'm getting ready to solder up some LEDs. I'm going to videotape all that because when I did the soldering tutorial, it went pretty quick and I got a few additions to add. But what I'm doing right now is I got a 3mm yellow LED right here. And I'm measuring the top of it because they're kind of bell-shaped. They have a stem at the bottom. And the stem is bigger than the top. So what I want to do is drill holes in these engine cans the exact same dimensions as the top. Okay? So let's get this where all of you can see what I'm doing. Got my micrometer right there. It says 2.98 millimeters. We're going to switch that to inches. It says 0.117 inches. I need a drill bit that's 0.117 inches. Now, I don't know what that is off the top of my head. It's about 1/8 if I had to guess. Yeah, it doesn't convert over, but 1/8 is 0.125. I know that. So what I'm going to do is take my calculator out with me. You can see I'm using a calculator, an old TI model. I've got about 30 of these things. Hate to say it, but I do. I'm going to take my calculator out. I'm going to go to the drill press. I'm going to drill my 2 holes for those LEDs. Once those are drilled, I'm going to get some 5-minute epoxy and epoxy those suckers in there. But before I epoxy them in there, I'm going to paint those engine cans bright silver. Okay? Because one thing I learned from looking at reference photos on the studio model is the engine bells, actually, not studio model, watching Michael build his. They used flashlight reflectors in the studio model, in the engine bells. Okay, when he sent me his, he sent flashlight reflectors. They're packaged up real tight. I'm not going to get them out until I actually get to that part of the model, because I don't want them scratched or anything. He packaged those very well. So I'm going to paint those silver, put those LEDs in there with some 5-minute epoxy, so I don't have to wait forever and a day to get my engine cans together. I can get those engine cans together so I can get working on Michael's. So I'll be back in a bit once those holes are drilled. Alright everyone, I got my LED holes drilled and they fit not perfect but really close. I mean, I can hold it sideways and hold it upside down, and that's just slip fitted in there. There's no glue. She's just slip fitted in there. I did not quite get them centered because there was a center spire in the center of that. But the deal is, when they're lit, who's going to look in there and go, oh, that's off center? It's going to be hard to look at him. So this one's close to centered. This one, you can see it, not so much, but I'm not worried about it. Again, I'm not trying to make a studio accurate model out of this little guy. That's not the deal with him. The big guy, yeah, I'm going to try for some of that. He's big enough that those little details can be replicated somewhat. Okay? Like the rivet holes and things like that. I can do that on the big guy. The little guy, I don't want to, I don't want to scrape those panel lines off and do all that. He's supposed to be fun. He's my reference, along with reference photos. Okay? So that's why I have this little guy. That's why I'm building him. And I want a lighting. So let me get the soldering iron fired up, and we're going to videotape soldering again. I'm thinking 9-volt on the little guy, so I can use a 9-volt battery on him. He's not going to have so many LEDs, and he's not going to have anything eating up the power. Okay? So I think he'll be okay using a 9-volt. Alright? So let me get my soldering system set up. You can see I've already cut my positive and negative wires here. So I'm getting ready to do that. Before I solder, we're going to paint the inside of these guys silver, so we get some good reflective light on them. And I'm pretty sure, yes, they go in there like that. That's how they fit into this. So I cut those wires a bit long, but that's fine. No worries there. I'll be back as soon as I got the soldering iron warmed up and ready to go. Alright, here's a quick hint. I'm trimming the leads down on my LEDs because they're way too long in the model. So I don't forget which one's positive and negative. I leave the positive one a little longer than the negative. I mean, that's much shorter than the normal lead on an LED, which looks like this. Of course, it doesn't want to focus, but you guys can see it. I'm trimming them down for a reason, because they're not going to fit in there properly. So there we go. I got them trimmed. The soldering iron's up to heat. I will be back in a second. I want to paint those engine cans silver first. Then I'll get those soldered. So I'll be back in a second.